Joining us now, live, Joe Morrissey on Thursday announcing his campaign for mayor of Richmond. The media going bananas. They want him to go away, but he just keeps fighting. Joe, how are you?
Good morning, John. I'm doing great. How are you?
Never better. Now, Joe, look, you are going to get an onslaught of negative media coverage in this campaign. They don't want you in there because you don't play their games, and you're going to stand up to them. You don't take their money, and you can't be bullied and you can't be bought. So how do you win this race?
John, it's 9 individual campaigns. There's 9 different wards in the city of Richmond. You've got to win 5 of them. Here's what you can't do to run for mayor. You can't buy a mayoralship. You can't. It's going to be a very much retail-driven campaign. Who gets out and is willing to go door to door, go to one community civic association after another, is willing to go door to door to the people's homes, and I'm going to be willing to do that. But if people think that you're just going to be able to spend $1 million and buy television ads and win yourself a mayoralship, it's not going to happen.
Joe, let me just ask you this. LeVar Stoney, he's already said he's going to run. He's on Governor McAuliffe's staff. He's a very nice young man. He's been a Democratic political operative for some time. He's going to get a ton of money behind him. How many candidates do you see in this race?
How many
total candidates?
You say
do you think will be in this? Yeah,
I would say 10 to 11, with maybe there 4 or 5 being serious. And you're right. LeVar is a nice young man. I've known LeVar for a long time, and I welcome LeVar into the race. But I'm a very, very disciplined and seasoned candidate, and I wish him good luck. But I think it's going to be I'm going to put up a formidable race, and I'm very confident where I am right now in this race.
So, Joe, just so my audience knows, the election for Richmond mayor is in November, where it's on the ballot with everything else, with all the federal races, and there's no majority, so a plurality wins, right?
Yeah, well, the person, you have to win 5 of the 9 wards in the city. You have to win 5 of the 9. And if there are 10 candidates and nobody wins 5 wards in the 1st and November 8th, then the 2 candidates with the highest number of votes go into a runoff on, I think, a week before Christmas. And again, the winner must win 5 of those 9 wards. And when you have 2 candidates running, then obviously somebody will win 5 or more wards.
Right. So essentially, if you can avoid a runoff, if you win a plurality of 5 and 9 wards, somebody could essentially win with 33 or 34 or 35%. If you get into a runoff, then obviously there's 2 candidates there, and we'll see how that goes. Now, Joe, you've been criticized as a candidate that's now looking for a job. That's what somebody said to me the other day, that you've moved to different areas trying to run in different races. You're not as well known in Richmond as you were in the House district that you represented. So why do you think Richmond voters in the city of Richmond are going to respond to Joe Morrissey?
Well, first of all, I did not hear that characterization, but it's actually silly. First of all, I don't need a job. I make a great living practicing law, but when I see what's going on in Richmond, particularly with our schools and the disgraceful condition, and myself having 3 young children that will be going to Richmond schools, then something has to be done. But let's be clear. There's one candidate of the 10 or 11 that has won and citywide already. That's me. I have represented Richmond, parts of Richmond, when I was in the House of Delegates for 8 years. And I am I live in Gibbet Park right now. I think of all of the candidates running. I probably have the greater and the most and the strongest ties to Richmond. So I don't understand that comment, and it's somewhat silly.
So as you get ready for your campaign for Richmond mayor, What are, say, the three key tenets of your platform? What are your three differentiators here in this race?
Right. Number one, the person who comes in and is the next CEO of the city, the mayor, he's got to bring a skill set to that job that includes being able to run the city like a business. It hasn't been run, and that's the first thing. I've got a degree in chemistry and economics from UVA, JD degree from Georgetown, a master's in law from Trinity College. I've run three different multi-million-dollar businesses, all successful, all under budget. I run a former state agency, the Commonwealth Attorney's Office, all under budget. I come in there with a business mindset that we're going to run the city, and we're going to do it. We're going to get our CAFR reports in on time. We're not going to jeopardize our bond rating, and I'm going to run it with a businessman's perspective. Number two, I mentioned schools a few moments ago. Of our 45 schools in Richmond, only 17 of them are accredited. That's disgraceful. With an understanding that I would not want my children to go to schools that have debilitating, mold and mildew, HVAC systems that aren't working, roofs that are leaking. I'm going to make a priority to repair the physical stock of our schools. And the third thing is, I'm going to bring in people to run the city, not people that I happen to know or are in my law firm or people that I'm friends with. They're going to get a job because they're the best qualified. I'm going to bring in department and agency heads who know how to run a municipality. And those are the three things that I think I'm going to focus on that have not been focused on.
Joe, you said 17 of 45 Richmond schools are accredited, which means that by my math...
fully accredited.
Yeah, fully accredited. So 28 are not. That's pretty disastrous, right? I mean, that's disastrous. But you're not running for a member of the school board. You're running for mayor. So as a mayor, say you get elected, what could you actually do in order to bring up that number, which is really horrible?
Well, here's two things. Straight off the bat. Number one, you've got, as you just calculated, 28 schools that are not fully accredited. One of the things that we do, we have a debt capacity in the city of Richmond, probably right now $30 to $40 million. At one point, the current mayor wanted to use that debt capacity to put a $50 million stadium down in Shockley Bottom on a swamp. I'm not going to do that. We're going to use that available debt capacity, and we're going to use a certain, I'll call it a lockbox from revenue on real estate taxes to expand our debt capacity to build and to perform construction and renovation on existing schools. So that's the first thing. A child cannot learn in an environment that I just described a few moments ago. The other thing is, a lot of people don't know this, John, but I not only did I teach law school, not only was I on the House Education Committee for 8 years, but I also taught high school. I was a wrestling coach as well, and I want to incentivize teachers to come to Richmond and stay for 5 years. How do we do that? How can we can use tools that the General Assembly have already given us, but also pay for those teachers' student loans if they're willing to come into an urban jurisdiction and stay 5 years, at least 5 years. So I think you're going to have a real school champion in me. But here's something that may differentiate me from everybody else. I don't believe that public schools is the panacea for everybody. I believe that there's a basket of different school alternatives, from parochial to private to contract to charter to public to homeschool. And I would love to see charter schools expand in the city of Richmond. I was an early proponent, and by the way, most people don't know this, but a charter school is a public school, just a different cat. And I was an early supporter of the Patrick Henry School in Richmond. And as mayor, I would also continue to be an advocate for charter schools.
Well, Joe, that makes sense. But why are the liberals and the establishment Democrats so opposed to expanding charter school opportunity in Virginia and in Richmond? Why?
I think the short version is this. There's a narrow focus that says this. If you support charter schools, which I just said is a form of public schools, you're taking away from the traditional public school, which every liberal politician thinks is a no-no. I don't get it. I've seen wildly successful charter schools where the autonomy for running that school is devolved from a school board down to a much smaller group. They work. Charter schools work. You look at their success rate, the student success rate. John, I don't know why that liberal element that you just described is has so much angst for charter schools. I don't get it.
Well, it should be the opposite. I mean, I've always said that I live in a school district where I can't send my son to that school. The school district that I'm in, we like our neighborhood. It's not accredited. It just doesn't fit his needs. So I send my son to Catholic school, but we're able to not go on vacation and do other things in order to fund that. I've got friends that I know that are listeners to my show that don't have that opportunity. They don't have the transportation. They can't make the payments. And so their child is simply locked in that school like they're in school prison. They can't get out. There's no other economic alternative for them. Joe, I just think that's wrong.
Well, it is. And here's the bottom line right now. In Richmond, our elementary schools, K through 6, are somewhere between okay and good. And then when you go to the middle schools, it falls off a notch. And then when you go to the high school, it falls off another notch or two.
Right.
Families that live in Richmond and can't afford the parochial or private school will keep their children there perhaps to 6th grade. And then what happens? They don't want to, but they'll leave the city of Richmond to go to a contiguous county because they want that school.
Right.
Now, what if we change that culture so that we demand that we elevate the elementary schools to an excellent status and demand the same of middle schools and high schools? Then you're going to find that people will stay in Richmond, that the millennials that we so dearly need to attract to increase our population in Richmond will say, wait a second, I am going to stay in Richmond, and I'm going to, and my kids will continue to go to public schools during middle and high school. If we have more millennials coming in, more students going to our Richmond schools, then we're well on the path to doing just what I just said and improving the K through 12 altogether. John, I've got K through 12 in my DNA, and if people that know me know that when I sink my teeth into something, I don't let up until I get it. I just don't quit. And that issue of fixing Richmond schools is number one on my agenda.
All right. Well, look, Joe Morrissey running for mayor of Richmond. This is a nonpartisan race, but I can tell you that the entire Democratic political machine is going to line up to keep you out of being mayor in Richmond because you can't be bullied, you can't be bought, and at the end of the day, you're going to do what you think is the right thing to do. We're in a climate where people are looking for change. And, Joe, I'm never wrong on this stuff. I'm going to predict right now, Joe Morrissey, you're going to win this race. You're going to be the next mayor of Richmond, and you're going to pull out a major upset because no matter what they throw at you, at the end of the day, I'm telling you, the people of Richmond are going to be looking for change, and I think you're going to be the agent for that. Joe Morrissey, I predict right now, wins the mayoral race in Richmond in an upset over LeVar Stoney and others. No disrespect to LeVar, great guy. I'm just telling you, Morrissey's going to win. Hey, Joe, thanks for being with us.